Okay, it's like a family get-together draft. So here's what you do. There's this family in North Carolina came up with something absolutely ingenious. They assign, just like an NFL draft, they assign points. Everybody has to have 8 points, okay? And like if you're making the main course of the big celebration meal, that's 3 points.
Okay, so we're not talking sports now, because you say draft, I'm thinking sports. So you're talking putting together the holiday meal.
Exactly. However, it works like a sports draft, whether it's NBA, if it's NFL. And so that's what they're doing. So they get together on like Zoom before whatever holiday it is, and everybody pulls the different tasks, and they call it a task draft. At the end of it all, everybody has to have 8 points, and it might be, okay, you clean up, that's worth 2 points. You make the cranberry sauce, that's 1 point. You make the whatever, the ham or the turkey, that's 3 points. But as long as everybody has 8 points, all the work, all the responsibility is very evenly distributed.
So how do you win? And how do you make this into like a playoff game?
So there's no playoffs. I don't know. Maybe, the Burp Olympics happen afterwards. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I could do that.
But I like that it's evenly distributed, that, if you are the person that's going to clean up because you're not a great cook, then you take some more of those responsibilities. And it's just...
Scott said to me earlier that he would do turkey for 3 points.
I would. I love to smoke turkey on my egg outside. So any time of meat outside, that's what I would take. So
I've heard egg and ham, but not egg and turkey. What's this dish?
Well, the big green egg. It's an outdoor. It's a grill.
It looks like an egg, but it's green.
It looks like an egg. It's green. Yeah. So when I say egg, I meant my grill.
Grill. Okay.
The turkey, I love to do that on the eggs, so that's what I would take.
I like to put it on my Bridgestone.
But you only get 3 points for the turkey, so what else you taking to make 5?
How about deviled eggs? And I'll open up a can of cranberry sauce. What would that get me?
You're falling short, buddy.
Rob and Lizz,
his morning crew.
So it's this whole draft thing, and if I understand correctly, it's got nothing to do with sports. It's got nothing to do with winning anything at all. When you're getting together as a family, you have a point system and all these different tasks that you do for the meal and the cleanup and things like that, which everything is like turkey. If you cook a turkey, it's 3 points. If you take out the trash, it's a half a point. And you have to make at least 8 points to qualify for the draft and be a part of the gathering.
Well, what they're trying to do, this family started it, and I love this idea, is that everybody has to have 8 points, and that evenly distributes, all the responsibilities. And so no matter where you come in, if you make desserts, maybe you got to make a couple to get your points. So Scott wants to take the turkey.
He's taking
our
the
news
turkey
guy.
on. I'll take it. Yep. Every time.
Why the
I can get it on
turkey?
My egg, my
Why the
grill.
turkey?
Well, I've got a big green egg, and so I love to smoke them on the grill.
Okay,
so
I have all different imagery in my head when you say egg. Number one, for some reason, I see you literally smoking a turkey like a cigarette. No. No. And then I see you putting an egg on a turkey. But the egg is a grill, right? This is a grill. It's like one of those
ceramic grill. Yeah.
Okay.
So it looks like an egg. It's even dimpled with like an egg, but it's a grill. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a grill. So Bonnie thinks, because if Scott were to smoke this turkey on his egg, he only gets 3 points for it. Bonnie said, you got to get more points for that turkey simply because of the time and responsibility. And I'm going to tell you, me and Ninja, our morning show producer, wholeheartedly agree. You got to get more than 3 points for a turkey.
I don't know. I think 3 points is fair.
Have you ever made a turkey?
No.
Okay, thanks.
No, I burn toast. She asks me if I make turkey.
Mic drop.
So here is, speaking of mic, here's an open mic from the My HISRadio app. You open up the open mic and record anything. This just came in on the open mic.
I would take out the trash for at least 1 point in that Christmas draft.
Okay, trash for a point. I think that is worth more points than 1 point. I would give it 7.
Oh, you think taking out the trash should get you more points than a
Yes.
turkey.
Who wants to take out trash?
But you're one and done. Like, you just take the bags and boom, you're done.
This needs to spread out to other areas. Like, if there are dogs, for instance, they're going to mess the backyard. I think it's worth double the point. I think that's 16 points. That's worth 2 drafts.
Why would
Right
that
there.
be on the draft at all? Those are
Listen.
yo dogs.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
The holiday draft. Nothing to do with sports. It's Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio. It's really a point system, so you get your whole family together that's going to be a part of the big holiday festivities. Every task for the meal or the whole preparation for the whole gathering is given a point system. Like, you cook a turkey, it's 3 points. You take out the trash, it's 1 point. You wash the dishes, it's a point. Somebody brings over, sweet potato pie, and that's a couple of points and stuff like that. So everybody's allotted 8 points. You got to fill 8 points before you're done so that you have your tasks to do, and it's called a holiday draft. A lot of people are going to do this during Christmas, and people are intrigued about this morning.
Oh, I am. I think it's definitely a good way to go, especially and I think it happens in some families where you'll have a couple of people that are just sitting in the lazy boy watching some sports, and everybody else is working hard and trying to bring the meal all together. So I like it.
Now, here's the flaw. Scott, work with me here. Here's the flaw. I think it needs to be made into a competition, because there's still going to be people who would rather sit on the couch and watch football, right? So if it's turned into a competition on how many people get the most points, then there's going to be a lot of stuff done.
I agree, because you're trying to get the most points and do the most things.
Yes.
And then
So
you get
it's
an
a
extra piece
competition.
of pie or something if you do the most.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people might not be as competitive when it came to this.
Absolutely. So an open mic just came in through the My HISRadio app.
I feel like it would be way more fun if it was a competition and everybody was competing to get the most points. Not only that, but there would be so much food and so many clean things and stuff done because everybody wants to compete in the competition and everybody wants to do it.
So I like this. There's potential here. So first you have your original 8 points. And so you have everything taken care of. And then there's extra points the day of. And the extra points on the day of, the person who has the most points wins the competition. And they get a holiday gift card, $100 to spend on Christmas. Wait a minute. $500 to spend on Christmas. Liz, set this up.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
If you've ever been sent to the principal's office, you walk in, you never know what to expect. Rob and Lizz in the morning, his radio.
I think Raven knew, because Raven in middle school, boy, was she a pistol. I mean, she just was getting in so much trouble. She was brought to the principal's office in middle school one day because she picked up during lunch a cup of yogurt, threw it across the lunchroom. Yogurt everywhere, landing in somebody's head.
Oh, no.
It's like, it's kind of funny when you think about it, but no, you're not supposed to do that in the lunchroom. I kind of want to throw my yogurt at Scott right now.
Don't do that.
No, that's wrong. You don't do that. Scott
hey,
probably, whip me in a food fight. But here's the thing. Raven was always getting into trouble, but this principal really had a heart for Raven. His name is Jason, and he was, at the time, the principal of this middle school that Raven was going to in the 6th grade, getting in all this trouble. When she was 11 years old, she would just let people know she never felt loved. She was stuck living in terrible conditions. She was a foster child at that time, and she didn't get the right conditions to live in and the right places to go to. Mind you, I'm going to say outright, I've been a foster family, and we loved on every foster child that came into our home. As a matter of fact, Eli was our first foster baby at 8 weeks old, and he is a forever Dempsey now. We adopted him. And so not every condition is like some of the ones that Raven found herself in. But Jason's like talking to his wife, Mary Beth, one day and said, listen, I want to help this girl. She's just going through it. I have a heart for her. And so they were going through some infertility in their own life. And so they started going into the foster process. And by golly, was able to get Raven in. Raven's like, wait a minute. This is my principal.
That's got to be weird at first.
I really want to be here. But here's what wound up happening. Jason and his wife, Mary Beth, adopted her. She had a forever home. She is in college now and thriving, and is so grateful for the experience that she had where the principal said, you're getting in trouble because you threw yogurt across the middle school lunchroom.
Wow. And 11 years old before she truly felt cared for and loved. It made all the difference in the world. Look at her. I mean, if you think about the trajectory of her life, what it could have been, and now because he and his wife invested and loved her, and she's in college and making, a success of her life. That's awesome.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
Think about it. And I'd love to know on the open mic through the My HISRadio app about the gatherings you go to during this time of year. Now, let's think about this. There's Thanksgiving. There's Christmas. There's Christmas Eve. There's New Year's Eve, there's New Year's Day, there's Friendsgiving, there's Kwanzaa, there's the Festivus for the rest of us. There's all these things that are going on. They say the average person, and I'm not there, but they say the average person goes to at least 10 gatherings this time of year. 10 gatherings. I thought, how? Because I counted up for me. This is just me. Granted, I have no social life because of my hours. I go to bed really early. So because of that, I had a Thanksgiving, I'll have a small group gathering, and then what we're doing at our family at HISRadio. That's 3 for me. That's it. And then Christmas Day. Okay, so that's 4. There's 4 for me.
Okay. And so I was thinking, yes, there is a Friendsgiving. There's like girls' night out. Girls' night out.
This is you. Okay, so there's 2. There's 2, there's 3. You had Thanksgiving.
Okay, and then you have Christmas Eve. So I'm not actually going anywhere, but people are coming to my house. But so I will count that. And then Christmas Day, we'll have one at our house. We'll go to my daughter's house. We'll go to the in-laws' house, and I'll go to my mama's house.
That's 8.
Then I haven't even gotten to New Year's Eve if we decide to go anywhere. But typically there's a cookie swap in there somewhere. And then my husband and I are taking a trip.
There's 10. Well, that's not a gathering. That's a trip.
Oh, well, we gathered, but whatever.
So there's 9. So there's 9 gatherings that Liz is going to for this time of year. You know what? I'm going to jump out there. I'm going to say Scott has at least 25 he's going to.
Well, he has so many friends.
You are way off. I feel like I'm the loner here because aside from maybe the station gathering, and if we're not going out of town because our family is so spread out, we've got family in Florida, family in Tennessee, and if we're not going there and nobody's coming here, we're just kind of doing our own thing at the house.
Well, listen, okay. You did Thanksgiving at Jacksonville at the in-laws. Okay, and then you said you're going to do what the HISRadio family's doing, so there's 2. There is Christmas Day. Your family is gathering, even though it's your wife and your 2 kids, right?
So there's 3.
3.
Okay.
What about New Year's? What are you doing New Year's?
I probably nothing.
Oh, come on.
Going to bed.
Maybe doing something. Yeah, going to bed.
Come on.
Trying to stay awake till midnight.
Doing something.
So maybe there's 4. Let's say 4.
There's 4. You're active in your church, small group?
I don't know yet. Perhaps there's
You're doing something. There's 5. Okay, so there's 5 things you're going to already.
So you came in halfway, but that's okay.
Yeah, see?
More special than I think.
Of course you are. I mean, come on. And what about you? I'd love to hear some of the stories about at least one of the gatherings. Use the open mic through the My HISRadio app.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
So we started counting up. And on average, we're learning that there are about 10 gatherings this time of year that the average person goes to. I counted up myself, and I'm like, I'm only doing 4.
I think I'm around 8 or 9, but also for me, I feel like the older that you get, the fewer events that you might go to because, you have other responsibilities or whatever. So, but Pastor Warner, the flip side of that, he texted and said, so not only do they have Thanksgiving and Christmas, they also have the workplace Christmas party. They have a Thanksgiving dinner at church, and also their church does a Christmas dinner. I didn't even think about that type of thing. because it's still a gathering, but it's at church, but it's different than a small group or, a ladies thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's for people in the community that don't have a place to go. I love that Pastor Warner is doing that with his church. We had an open mic that just came in through the My HISRadio app.
Hi, this is Laura from Gastonia. I have 2 gatherings for Thanksgiving and 2 for Christmas, and that is it this year, and I am perfectly fine with that. I hope you guys have the best holiday. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you too.
Aw.
So she has 4. I have 4. I counted them up. I had Thanksgiving, so I had some family that came over for that. I have a small group thing that's going on, so we have a little gathering that's going on. The family here at His Radio, we're all getting together. That's 3, and then I have Christmas. I have no idea what's going on in my house for New Year's Eve. I usually do nothing but sit on the couch and try to stay up for the Dick Clark Rockin' New Year's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ball drop in New York City.
Well, so for us, I think we have 5 events in 2 days. I feel like we'll go to my mom's house. We'll have people. Yeah. We'll have people at our house Christmas Eve. Yes. And then on Christmas Day, we'll have ours. We'll go to my daughter and son-in-law's house. And then we'll go to my in-law's house all on Christmas Day. So 5 in 2 days.
5 in 2 days. I counted that you're going to about 53.
It feels like it's going to feel like it by Christmas. That's for sure.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
There's something new that I think is ingenious. It's something they call house hacking. So if you are a couple or, somebody that wants to buy a house, here's something you can think about. You buy a house, and I would always suggest, I'm not a realtor, buy a house with 3 bedrooms. It's easier to turn it when you want to sell it. So if it's just a couple in your house, you've got an extra bedroom, rent out that extra bedroom, and it'll help you pay the mortgage. That's happening a lot right now.
That's called house hacking?
House hacking.
Just renting out a room. It's so, especially for somebody who makes anything under, I would say, $80K a month, even combined, it's really hard to live because the house is so expensive to try to buy. I mean, it depends on what area you're in, but if you're in close to a metro, these houses are so expensive you can't even afford what would seem to be a cheap-looking house, all torn apart, and they're like $500,000. It's like, how in the world can anybody who doesn't have a lot of means afford something like that? So you have to rent out a room in your house.
Or you have to be creative and just think about it. The thing is, you can't go into like a home loan and say, okay, here's how we're going to help pay his salary, her salary, and we're going to rent this house. They're not going to take that. It has to be sustained. It has to be confirmed that you're going to be able to rent this, out. So they don't even take it into consideration. So you still have to make enough money to buy the house for the cost and then decide to rent it out later.
Well, that will help with groceries and things like that.
Absolutely. House, home insurance and all the things.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
Hey, I could be.
Do you mind if we have some little happy thoughts right now? Little painting of happy thoughts, happy trees, happy leaves.
That's smooth.
I know.
Smooth jazz.
It's your Christmas music station, His Radio, and if you're familiar with this music, you might be a fan of Bob Ross. He hasn't been with us for a while, but what was it, PBS, right? So he was on PBS doing all these paintings. The big hair that he had.
I know.
That's iconic hair, man, Well, now the world's largest collection of Bob Ross paintings are on display in North Carolina.
Here's my disconnect with that is I never thought of him as having some art in a gallery or a showing. I just saw him plainly as a teacher, and not that I watched it all the time or anything, but just scrolling through and you'd see him and you'd stop and be like, well, that's nice. Okay, bye.
After he passed away, he wound up getting this huge following. My son Spencer would have T-shirts with his face on it. And,
yes!
And on his fridge at his dorm room, he had a magnet of Bob Ross on there. But now you can see some of his paintings at the Wesleyan University, North Carolina Wesleyan University. 75 pieces of Bob Ross work is there.
I think that's so cool. And I think you're right. that he had this following, even after he passed away. My son, the same thing, had a Funko Pop of Bob Ross, but really didn't know who he was. Now they get to find out.
Yeah, and the joy of painting. I want to paint now.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
I don't know if you've ever got lost on a hike at all in your life. Here's Thanksgiving Day. This couple's in Nevada, and they're on this pretty big river. It's the Truckee River. It's in a canyon. And so somehow, some way, they fell into the river. This thing is freezing cold because what feeds this river primarily is snow from higher elevations. In Nevada, I know that's crazy. I think desert when I think Nevada. I don't think snow.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so year round, it's constantly cold, very dangerous. This couple was stuck in this river for about an hour, and they were clinging onto the rock. And finally, the fire department was able to get to them and save them and get them out of there in time for them to get a nice turkey.
Oh, my goodness. Immediately I think hypothermia because I think that sets in fairly quickly. And then you think frostbite. I don't even understand how they survived it, quite honestly.
I know, especially being in that river for an hour for that long. They were taken to the hospital, but they're going to be okay. But what a scary situation. I've been lost on hikes before, but I've never fallen into a river like that,
No. I've been in a river, not really a river,
Good for
I guess,
you.
a pond. No, wait, in Alaska. And so it was fed by the snow that was melting from the mountains. So I can't imagine. I got in for 2 seconds. It was like, frostbite.
Ankle deep or something like that?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
I don't know back in the fall. I feel like it's winter because of how cold it is this morning. But back in the fall with the corn mazes, before October 31st and all that stuff, now they have, believe it or not, Christmas light mazes. Oh. And there's some huge ones in some big metros. They call this the Enchant Light Maze. It's all Christmas lights. The thing takes 30 days to set up, 60 semi-trucks, and 4 million lights. That's how detailed this maze is. It's like in 7 different cities. 2 that might be able to get to is Washington, D.C. and St. Petersburg.
Yeah. That's a long trek, though. If you're going to be traveling, that's something you're going to have to plan a whole trip around if you want to go see it. But I'm thinking, how many people do they employ just to check on the burnout lights? Because that's the biggest letdown is if you're going through one of these light displays and it's like, half the lights are out or whatever. So there's got to be 1 or 2 people in charge of that.
And it's always one light and the whole strip's out, know? And so some guy's got to go around and check every light to make sure, okay, it's this one. Let me replace it because then the light strand will come back. Let me tell you who loves mazes. Scott does.
I do not like mazes. This is a guy that has a hard enough time finding his car, walking out of the grocery store in the parking lot, and don't even get me started on parking garages. I usually take my son with me to be my navigator. So the thing about mazes, I like them, but I'm afraid that I'm going to get halfway through it and get totally turned around.
Scott, what you need to do, take a picture of whatever level you park on and take like a video that shows you how to get back where you parked.
That's a great idea. I have to do that now because I totally get turned around all the time.
What he needs to do is remember he took the video.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
So Jeffrey just recently passed away, but they love Jeffrey. He was the caretaker of a trailer park in New Hampshire, very small town, like 4,200 people. He had no car. He wore what people would say, that's kind of shabby clothing. He hardly had any furniture. But here's the thing. Jeffrey saved like there was no tomorrow. And nobody had an idea that this guy was filthy rich. Here's the thing. After he passed away, his money was donated. He wanted to make sure that in this town of 4,200 people, this humble little town, that this money went toward education, health, recreation, and culture. You know how much it was? $3.8 million.
Wow, that he was just sitting on. So, yeah, he was really frugal. There was one person that kind of knew. I don't know if he knew exactly how much, but he knew that he had a little nest egg, and it was his best friend. I guess he confided. You got to have somebody to confide in. And so he told his best friend, but his best friend, very trustworthy, didn't tell a soul. And so after Jeffrey passed away, this is what was laid out. The town is like, we have no idea what to spend this on. Specifically, they know the parameters that were set up, but they're still, trying to come together. There's only like 4,000 people in this town.
And they had no idea.
Mm-mm.
No idea. I mean, no car. He didn't dress like he had $3.8 million. He hardly had any furniture, and he was a caretaker of a trailer park. But yet, so here's the thing. How did he make all this money? He invested a lot. He played on the stock market. And so he invested and reinvested and got into all this stock. And all of a sudden, here comes this nest egg. He never did anything with it. He didn't have a Ferrari. But what he did was give it all away. Give it all away after he passed away.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. He knew what was important in life.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
Ben and Sohee, they were getting married, and of course, a lot of plans go into any wedding. Well, Ben did something that I think a lot of grooms don't do. They don't actually need to do. So Sohee and her family, they're from Korea, and Ben had it in his mind that he was going to be able to converse with her family in their language. So he took lessons and he learned how to speak Korean, but he kept it on the down low. Like he didn't tell anybody. So he gets up and he's making, a speech or toast at the reception, and he does it in Korean.
Did he nail it?
He nailed it.
Good.
Yes.
That's the scary part, that you're going to get something wrong.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wow. Because I don't feel that's an easy language to learn, Korean.
Yeah, I wouldn't think. And I think the older that we get, languages become a little harder. If you start to learn a new language as a kid, little kids are just little sponges.
I used to master Pig Latin, but I'm not as good as it anymore. Really not. Scott learned, I think he did. Is it Lebanese?
It is Lebanese. My wife's dad and their side of the family are from Lebanon, so he speaks Lebanese. And I thought, at our wedding, if I could say something in Lebanese at the ceremony, that would be really, really cool, and maybe even make it another nice impression or so. And then I got to thinking about the fact that I put my foot in my mouth when I speak English, let alone try to learn anything in Lebanese, so I decided not to do that.
Oh, man, that would have been so cool, though. But yet, sometimes if you put an inflection in the wrong place,
it can mean something totally different.
You could be offending somebody.
Absolutely. So stick with the language unless you have a really good teacher.
Rob and Lizz.
His morning crew.
This is a high-rise building that's being constructed in England. The thing catches on fire, and there's a construction worker at the top. There is fire bellowing everywhere. The black smoke, it's horrendous. You could see the flames that are starting to surround him. He's on top of this building. The fire department couldn't even get to him. There's 50 firefighters that are on the scene. There's this one crane operator that got a cage and hooked the cage up to his crane, immediately swung it over there. The guy was able to jump into that little cage, and the crane operator lifted him up to safety. He was saved because of that. There was one other guy that was on top of that roof, too. He was able to get him. So that crane operator came and saved the day. And these two guys that would have lost their lives are with us today, and they were able to celebrate Thanksgiving and will have a Christmas with their family because of this crane operator.
Oh my goodness. That's huge. You always try to think, at least I do with certain situations, this is how I will react, but you don't. Sometimes you freeze in the moment. So I'm glad that he was able to think on his feet and be able to get those guys to safety.
Yeah, and it was so scary when you watch this because it's all caught. I mean, there's security cameras everywhere nowadays, right? And people whip out their phones and are taping everything. But you can see it was touch and go because he was working really hard, the crane operator, to get this cage away from the flames, because sometimes he would place it down and the fire would creep closer to that cage, and then he would move it again so that these two guys can get into this cage so that the crane operator can take them off this high-rise building that was being constructed on fire and bring them down to safety. It was just It's amazing to watch.
I bet he's got 2 lifelong friends.